Hello, everyone. Yes, it's true. It's me, Mega Champ, again. There have been no demos for me to play since last month, and the demo that I played last month has since come out. I thought there would be a demo for Sonic X Shadow Generations, but there wasn't. Although I can't really say I'm all that surprised either. But the point is, there will more than likely not be any more demos or me playing demos for pretty much the rest of the year. It is what it is. This has definitely been the most active year in quite a while, honestly, in all recent memory, where I've played a significant amount of demos. So, unfortunately, that has ended. Who knows how active demos will be next year? Who knows about a lot of things anymore when it comes to next year? But let's not get into that because, as you can see, if you couldn't already tell, it's time for another Full Thoughts video. And once again, I'm sorry it took me so long. I was playing an entire franchise. There was literally, I just did not see a reason to do a video over every single game. I really didn't. So I just chose to wait until I did the entire franchise, thus far at least, and just kind of talk about the franchise as a whole after that. So that's what I did, and that's why it took me so long. Well, that and the fact that pretty much all of the games, except the third game, I was attempting the platinum in. And in the third game, I was still trying to get as many trophies as I possibly could. So I suppose you could make the argument, or I could make the statement that I was trophy hunting, quote unquote. So that's another reason why it took so long, and a lot of other reasons that are completely unimportant and irrelevant. So it just took me a while. It's literally 4 games, so not really sure what you were expecting. And I will also sort of go over why it took me so long as well. It is what it is, unfortunately, but I finally have finished it at long last night. I got the platinum in the first game, the second game, and the fourth game, quote unquote, as I use that term very loosely. That's not a hint, just so you know, but a lot of people don't really count this game as the fourth game. And I can understand why, but. Well, you're going to end up hearing what my opinion is, but yes, it is time once again for another Full Thoughts video. This time on the Sly Cooper franchise. All of the Sly Cooper games that have come out. Literally all of them. The first game, the second game, the third game, and the quote unquote fourth game. All of them. As always, as per normal, as should be obvious by now, as you should already know by now, this is just my personal feelings, thoughts, experiences, and opinions on these games and this franchise. Everyone's opinion is going to be different at the end of the day. You can have your opinion, everyone can have their opinion, so I can have my opinion. That's just how it is, that's just how it works. That's how all of these videos that I do work. So just remember that and keep that in mind. This is just my own personal feelings, thoughts, experiences, and opinions on these games and on this franchise. Also, as usual, as per normal, to the best of my ability, I'll be talking about the story of the games, the characters of the games, the world of the game or where the game takes place, and of course, the graphics and the gameplay, all of which I am not a massive expert on, but that's why I just said this is just my feelings, thoughts, experiences, and opinions on these games. So, again, just keep that in mind and be aware of that, and so on and so forth. The one thing that you need to know about these games is that the original 3 games were all made by Sucker Punch, which is a PlayStation studio, obviously. They now do things like the Ghost franchise, which I guess we should call it that now because it's Ghosts of Tsushima and Ghosts of Yotei. So that's what they do now. They have done other things like Infamous and other franchises, I'm sure, that I don't care about or can't think of right now. But that's who did the first 3 games. The re-release on the PlayStation 3, the remaster in high definition, as is stated on this picture, was made by Sanzaru. And they also made the 4th game, Thieves in Time. So that's who did the remaster and the 4th game. Not much to say about that, except I wouldn't count on them ever touching this franchise ever again. There are some people who are going to cheer very loudly, or pop, if you know what that means. It's a wrestling term. For that, because they are now owned by Meta, aka Facebook. So there's that for you. They're definitely never touching these games again. You can cheer if you want. I do understand. It's not that I don't. But, yeah, that's all you really need to know. So, the story of the games are relatively simple. You play as a thief, Sly Cooper. You have 2 friends that help you, Bentley and Murray. And there's a character that is after you all the time, Carmelita Fox. That is basically the story of pretty much literally all the games. In some games you do play as Carmelita, in some games you don't. After the first game, she does become a bit more of an important character, and you do play as her at times. I can't remember right now if you play as her in the second game or not. I think you do, now that I'm actually thinking about it, but I'm not 100% certain. But you do play as her a lot more after the first game. And that's pretty much it. In the third game, there are more characters introduced because it has to be a large group of thieves to handle what's going on in the third game. And that's basically it. In the fourth game, it's the regular 3 and Carmelita, and an extra character that is an ancestor of Sly. I mean, right here. What did you expect? So yeah, that's basically the story of the game. The first game, it's basically a revenge story where you're getting revenge on a fiendish 5, literally, who killed Sly's parents, rip, and you have to get back pages of a book. It was honestly a little corny and cheesy when I first started playing it, but I stopped caring after a certain amount of time. The second game, you have to stop parts of the main villain of the first game from being used by the new villains, which is another group called the Claw Gang. So that's a thing. So the first game and the second game are relatively the same in terms of the villain, except in the second game you have to stop the new villain, the new villains, the Claw Gang, from using parts of the villain in the first game. The third game, you find the location of some kind of vault of Sly's family, basically, who has been taken over. And after the end of the second game, you kind of, well, not kind of, you have to get the sort of group back together, the Sly Cooper gang, and also get other characters to help you out because it's heavily guarded by, the main villain of the third game. I'm trying my best to not give spoilers. It's hard in this particular case, honestly. I mean, I could give spoilers, but if you do want to play these games, I'm trying my best to not spoil it too much. The fourth game is basically kind of what I stated, where the villain is trying to erase Sly Cooper's ancestry and uses a time machine to go back in time to screw up the time-space continuum. In order to do so, Bentley creates a time machine, and you go through time in order to stop them. That is basically the story. Is it the best story? Well, we already know the answer to this now, don't we? Yes, we know the answer to this. The answer is no, the story is not the greatest. Here's the thing, though, when it comes to this particular game, it's basically like Crash Bandicoot, or Spyro the Dragon, or literally any other platform franchise, or platforming franchise. The story doesn't really matter all that much. There are platformers that have a good story. I've stated this way too many times. But they are a few and far between. We're actually going to be talking about that near the end when I talk about what game I'm finally getting around to. But until that point, most platformers don't really have a good story for the most part. But that's because the story isn't really important. Because the important part of a platforming game is literally in its name, the platforming, the gameplay. That's the most important feature here, the important part here. I mean, I will admit the story did get a lot more interesting the further I got in the franchise. It gets better in the second game. Honestly, the third game is probably when the story is at its best. From my experience, at least. The story in the third game is really good, considering the ending of the second game. And when it comes to this game, you're going to get mixed opinions on this. Some people say it's shit. Some people say it's good. This is my video, so obviously you want to know my opinion. I kind of already gave it to you. The story is not important. It's the gameplay that matters. Is the story in this game good and Thieves in Time good? No, it's not. And it's also very contradictory and hypocritical at times to pretty much the entire franchise, or at least the third game. So take that however you want. It contradicts itself and is very... It does a lot of hypocritical things, basically, but, it's not great, but eventually it got to the point where I just didn't care. I mean, that's brutal honesty. Truly brutal honesty. I just didn't care. It sucks. I'm not going to act like I liked it, because I didn't. But platformers have always been more about gameplay. I don't know how many times I have to state that. I will continue to state it until it's, nailed. But it is what it is. There's really nothing else to say. So the story is hit or miss. Like I said, it gets better the further you get in the franchise. And for me personally, it's at its best in the third game. At its peak, quote unquote. Use that word however you want. But the story, when it comes to platforming games, has never really been all that important. The characters, I already mentioned them. There's only 4 important ones, though there are some extra important ones in the third game, and some more important ones in this game. Sly Cooper, Bentley, and Murray. Those are the 3 main important ones, with Carmelita Fox. Take a wild guess what animal she is. Literally in the name. Is the other important character. And Carmelita Fox is also the love interest. Oh goody. Because, that's always great and needed. It was very funny at times. The game has humor. The characters have humor throughout the franchise. The humor was actually one of the better points in Thieves in Time. Lots of great humor in this game. Maybe even the best of the best, honestly. Though the humor in the third game is good too, but it's really good in this game. So if there's anything positive about Thieves in Time, it is the humor and the character banter. But the main 3 to 4 important characters is Sly, Bentley, and Murray, and Carmelita. They do have pretty good character development. Only Sly is the focus mostly in the first game. Murray shows up sometimes, and Bentley is the support. In the second game, they all get decent character development, especially Bentley near the end. And Murray as well, to an extent. And then all of the characters have really good character development in the third game. And even the extra characters that get added to the Sly Cooper gang have pretty decent character development too, in their own right, I guess. Carmelita has decent character development, though mostly her character is chasing after Sly, and Sly hitting on her constantly. That's her character development, but she does have some pretty interesting and pretty decent moments as well in the second game and the third game, and really Thieves in Time as well. So in terms of like character development, it's fine. Again, it's not the greatest. You have to pretty much play the entire franchise. I mean, I guess you could skip this game if you want, but even Thieves in Time has some pretty decent character development as well. But if you want character development, you have to play at least the first 3 games. That's the minimum. But I thought the character development was fine, and the characters are fine and very funny. I mean, when it comes to my new profile picture, avatar, whatever, yeah, Bentley reminds me of myself in a lot of different ways, so. And I just kind of feel like this franchise doesn't get enough love, so. Normally, I don't do something like that where I change my profile picture to something that was still technically ongoing at the time. But I didn't exactly have any better ideas either, so I made an exception. Sometimes these things are just going to happen, and sometimes I'm going to make exceptions, so. And exceptions to exceptions, and exceptions to exceptions to exceptions. You've heard me say that before as well. The characters are fine. I like the main 3. Carmelita is Carmelita. Some of the characters in the third game are pretty decent as well, and then they contradict themselves and do a lot of hypocritical things with one of the characters introduced in the third game. In this game, very hypocritical, very contradictory, but I guess there's not much else to say other than it is what it is, so not the best excuse, but yeah. The world of the game, where the game takes place, it's practically all over the place. You visit a bunch of countries: Paris, Italy, the jungle. I can't even remember all of it because none of it is really all that memorable. Some more than others, but most of the areas are based off of real locations like Paris and Italy and etc. and etc. Medieval England, prehistoric time. That's another one that's in this particular game. And so on and so forth. So, Japan, that's another one. I'm sorry I can't remember them all, but it's pretty much a bunch of different countries. That's the point. That's the point. That's basically the point. Is it's based off a bunch of different countries. So, world is fine. World does get better and bigger the further you go into the franchise. It's bigger in the second game, bigger in the third game, and extremely big in the fourth game. So, probably the biggest of the franchise when it comes to this one, because it's like a whole hub area, so to speak. But the hub areas are also in the second and third game, just smaller. In the first game, it's basically just a map, but it is the first game, so not much else to really say about the world of the game. It was fine. I liked it for what it was, and it accomplished what it needed to accomplish, so that's really all that matters, and that's really all that's important. So, world is fine. So now we have to get into graphics and gameplay here. The thing you have to keep in mind is these are PlayStation 3 games, which is the third console generation, obviously, of the PlayStation. And we are in the fifth console generation currently. So talking about graphics about a PlayStation 3 game, even though I've done that several times previously with both Tales of Xillia, Grace's F, and so on and so forth, is not really the easiest thing to do. Here is kind of the point. It's a cartoonish art style, but the graphics do get better the further you get in the franchise, obviously. You also have to keep in mind that these first three games are actually originally PlayStation 2 games. You heard me. PlayStation 2. That was remastered for PlayStation 3. Talking about graphics in that regard is difficult. It was a cartoony art style. I liked it. It fit what it was trying to do and trying to accomplish. Again, that's really all that matters, and that's all that important. That is important. But what I will say and what I will admit is that the graphics in this game is probably the best graphics of the entire franchise. So there's another positive for this game. So Sanzaru at least did a good job in that regard, and a good job in many other regards, but excuse me. Best graphics of the franchise here. Fine, cartoony, it fit what it was trying to accomplish. Not much else to say when it comes to the graphics. I'm not the best expert on graphics or gameplay or any of this for that matter, but you know, if we haven't already established this by now. Gameplay, it's basically what you would expect from a platformer, except in this franchise there is a bit of like sneaking around or stealth mechanics, which normally I'm not that great at. And trust me, I wasn't great at it in this franchise either. But the gameplay is fine. It's basically a platformer with stealth mechanics or sneaking mechanics or whatever you want to call that mechanic. You can sneak up behind enemies and take their money. You can throw bombs with Bentley. Murray is basically the strength, so you mostly fight with him. And so on and so forth. Going around and collecting clue bottles, Not in this game, but returns in this game. You can also collect treasures in the hub areas, which is a major part of this game. And just stuff of that nature with like spotlights and trying to not be spotted. Although it's not like being spotted is an immediate game over. You can fight the enemy, although you can get overwhelmed very quickly, especially in the second, third, and fourth game. So sometimes it's best to just run away and try again. Sometimes I did fight if I didn't have a choice or if it was just one enemy or maybe two. But if it became too many, then that's when I ran away, because then you're just asking to die. There is a live or life system in the first game, which was taken out in the games following. Thank God. Because my God, this first game, you get hit once and you're dead. That's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Which brings me to my next point. I bet you can already tell where I'm going. And look, I'm not saying that Crash Bandicoot is easy. It clearly wasn't. It was incredibly hard. And I'm not saying the Spyro the Dragon games were easy either. Especially when it came to the mini games. Especially in the third game. Or even in the entire franchise in general. Even Ratchet and Clank has its difficult moments in past games. Not so much anymore. Even Sonic, even Mario, I could go on and on and on about difficulty in platforming games. It's a little over the top. That's my one criticism, my one complaint, however you want to put it, about this franchise. It's a little unnecessarily overly difficult. It took me way too long to do a lot of stages, levels, missions, whatever you want to call it. It's more so missions in this franchise, but you get the point. It took me way too long to do a lot of things in this game. Especially this game. My God, some of the trophies in this game. I wish to strangle someone from Sanzaru. That's how bad it was and is. 2 words for this particular game. Apollo wins. Fuck that trophy, seriously. Fuck that trophy. 2 more words for this particular game. Arcade machines. Who thought that was a good idea? Who really thought that was a good idea? It wasn't. It wasn't. Some of the trophies are unnecessarily ridiculously hard. And some of the missions were unnecessarily ridiculously hard. You want to know why I didn't get the platinum in this game? Because you had to do challenges for it. Some of which involved speed running. Are you fucking kidding me with this bullshit? No. No, no, no. Go fuck yourself. Take that fucking bullshit and throw it out the window. I'm sorry. Just how I personally feel. I'm not a speedrunner. Don't put that shit in there. Don't put it in there. I'm grateful I played the PS3 version of the first game because because you have to complete 10 speedrunning missions for the first game for the new version of it on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Who is coming up with this idea? I would like some words. Get it out. Get it out. I don't like speedrunning. I'm not a speedrunner. I'm sorry. That's also why it took me so long. Especially when it came to... I like Bentley. He's probably my favorite character because he reminds... He reminds me of myself in a lot of ways. But God, playing as him in the second game is so goddamn bad and so goddamn unnecessarily hard, especially in some particular stages and missions. My fucking God. So bad. Unbelievably, ridiculously bad. Especially one part during this game, in the second game, when you lose Sly and Murray, and you have to play exclusively as Bentley. And I can't get the clue bottles as Bentley. Oh God, I don't even want to even remember that. That's how bad it was. Ugh. Unnecessarily ridiculous difficulty, in my opinion, from my experience. If you like a challenge, good for you. I don't. I don't want playing a video game to be a chore. I'm sorry. But you know, other than that, the gameplay was fun. No, it was. I just wish it wasn't as ridiculous when it came to the difficulty. That's all. But hey, at least they took out the life system. God, that helped so much. You have no idea how much that helped. Especially when it came to the final boss of the first game. Oh my God. Worst part of the entire game. The final boss of the first game. My God. So I did enjoy the game. I did. I don't mean to make it appear as if I didn't, because I did enjoy it. It's just parts here and there that I wish wasn't as utterly ridiculous as it ended up being. Apollo wins. Oops, sorry, that was wrong. Apollo wins, and the arcade machines in this game and a couple of other situations and instances, and some ridiculous difficulty for some stages and levels in this game. And then the platinum for this one and having to do the stupid challenges in the speed running. No, get it the fuck out. But I did get the platinum in this one, in this one, and in this one. Thank God I was going for the platinum for the PS3 version, because my God, that PS4 and PS5 version. I am so sorry to you people who had to do that. So I enjoyed the franchise. I did. Once again, I missed out. And it sucks that I missed out. Especially considering how this franchise may be never seen ever again. Why is Sony and PlayStation a bunch of dumbasses sometimes? But, I enjoyed it. I did. So there you go. That's the story of the games, the characters of the games, the world of the games, where the game takes place. I mean, you just go back in time for this one. A lot. The entire game. So not much to say. And then the graphics and the gameplay. Pretty good. Pretty good. Wish I had played it sooner. Why Sucker Punch won't go back to it is beyond fucking me. But that's on them. I kept going, I kept accidentally showing it, but now we have to actually talk about it, so now I can show it to you in full. Here are your Metacritic scores. This is for the first 3 games, the re-release on PlayStation 3, and here is the 4th game. As you can see, it's definitely a lot more mixed when it comes to the 4th game, as opposed to this, but, well, some people are just assholes, but you get the point. A lot more fair mixed in the other ones than this one, but, yeah. Those are your Metacritic scores. Around an 8 for the first 3 games on the PS3, and then a 7 or an 8 for users for the 4th game. As far as what my personal score would be, it's probably a solid 8 because of the unnecessarily ridiculous difficulty at times. That's the only reason it's not higher than a solid 8. Like an 8.0, that's what I mean. And I mean all around for the entire franchise. To be honest, I would give this an 8 as well, a solid 8. And look, I get it, I do. A lot of the stuff in this game is bad. It is. You don't play as Murray enough. The ancestors seem a little shoehorned in. It has a cliffhanger ending. It contradicts and is very hypocritical of a certain character in the 3rd game. And a lot of it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Too many mini games in this game as well. I will fully admit that. Some of those mini games being unbelievably stupid and unbelievably hard. I've already mentioned a few of them too many times. Apollo wins that trophy, and then the arcade machines. Even the hacking mini-games in this particular game are unnecessarily ridiculously difficult at times. The hacking mini-games in the other ones are completely fine. It's just this one where they become problematic, to put it extremely lightly. So there are definitely a lot of things to harshly criticize, or bury, if you want to use that wrestling term, this game over. And I kind of did in many ways. Some people absolutely despise the story, and I get it. I really do. When it comes to Time Traveler, it works in some situations, and in other situations, it doesn't work. It did not work, and still doesn't work, for the Kingdom Hearts series. It works in other situations. But in terms of this, I don't know. I mean, I will admit it was kind of cool and good to see the actual ancestors and see what they were like. But I get it. I do. Sometimes you just don't want to step your toe into the time traveling spectrum, because when you do, it's either a massive flop or somewhat of a success, or a massive success. Most of the time it seems to fall somewhere in the middle. But man, I don't know. I didn't really care all that much when it came to the story and Thieves in Time. I didn't. I really didn't. I mean, considering how hypocritical and contradictory it got with some of with the one character in the 3rd game that is affiliated with Bentley. That's as far as I'm taking it in terms of a hint. I get it. I really do. Some people have said that Carmelita is put out to be like too much of a call girl, quote unquote, or a damsel in distress, I guess, because she pretty much kicked some ass in the other 3 games, and I kind of get that and I kind of understand that. But I don't know. I did enjoy this game. There was just a lot of things I wish this game didn't do, especially when it came to the trophies and some of the mini games. But, you know, everyone is going to have a different opinion at the end of the day. What a concept. What a concept. So that's it. That's all I got for you for the Sly Cooper franchise. I missed out, and it's unfortunate. And now I may never see it ever again. I probably won't see it ever again. Let's be honest. Because I can't sit here and confidently say to you that the sales of Astro Bot, which is in the 1 million range, which is good, don't get me wrong, but considering all this game industry bullshit that's been happening this whole year and into last year as well, I can't sit here and confidently say that that's going to be satisfactory enough for Sony and PlayStation. For them to bring back Sly Cooper or Jak and Daxter or whatever other platformer, Sackboy, Little Big Planet, which does deserve another chance. A Big Adventure is unbelievably underrated. Go watch my full thoughts video on that. Seriously. That game is so goddamn underrated. Is the Astro Bot sales gonna be enough? I don't know, because I don't know what Sony is gonna think. If it's a success, there are layoffs. If it's not a success, there are layoffs or closures. I hate seeing that shit constantly. I really do. You have no idea. Especially when it comes to this video game crash bullshit, which is exactly that, bullshit, but we're getting off topic and into shoot and tangent territory here, so I'm going to stop myself now. Though you are going to be hearing about that again. There's a hint. I hate hearing that shit constantly when there's no evidence for it in any way whatsoever, and all of it is speculative, doom and glooming bullshit. But it's factual. Some of it is unfortunately factual. If it's a success, layoffs, closures. If it's a failure, layoffs, closures. There's no winning. There's no winning. There really isn't. There's no winning. As long as you don't have a hundreds of millions of dollars budget, AA. That's what needs to be done with Sly Cooper. Like what Astro did. I don't know if Astro Bot made a profit or not. I have not heard that. Feel free to educate me. I'm still learning shit too, believe it or not. I don't know if Astro Bot made a profit yet or not. But most AA games do tend to make a profit. You do that shit, you don't have to worry. Because I do think Sly Cooper would do fairly decently. Maybe not Astro Bot numbers, but fairly decently. And maybe even Jak and Daxter as well. In fact, if they re-released the Jak and Daxter collection, I'd play it. I've heard too much about it. But, you know, fuck that, I guess. All right, time to stop. Really going into shoot territory here. Tangent, rant, whatever word you want to use. I missed out. The point is, I missed out and it sucks. And I'm probably never going to see this franchise again. Stop chasing trends, Sony. Look at what happened with Concord. If you can't learn your lesson from that shit, you never will. All right, we're done. Man. Do you remember what I said about underrated, underestimated, and unappreciated? You're looking at it. You remember when I said some platformers have a good story? You're looking at it. Oh God, I'm so glad I'm finally to this game. Wahoo! 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 Okay, I need to stop. That was really bad. Klonoa Phantasy Reverie is next. I will be attempting the platinum for this game as well. Can I do it? I don't fucking know. This got really iffy at times for the platinum too, but I managed. We'll see. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll see. I am attempting, there's the key word, attempting the platinum. Whether I get it or not, TBD. This franchise, you know what's coming. This franchise is the most underrated, underappreciated, underestimated platforming franchise of all fucking time. Change my mind. Except you won't, because I won't think any differently. When this game came out, it was #1 on Steam. But you know, fucking Scamco wants to do nothing but Sword Art Online and anime bullshit and fighting game bullshit and anime fighting game bullshit. It's extra motivation for me to get the platinum for this game, to show it support, and to show it some fucking love for fuck's sake. Fuck you, Scamco. This is Mega Champ saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. End of the year videos begin after Thanksgiving. I have to do it differently because of when the Game Awards is. I can't review my bold predictions until after the Game Awards. And of course, something just had to happen that might make one of my bold predictions correct. Of course that had to happen. With 3 weeks until I have to review my bold predictions. So I have to do it differently. So this year will not start with a review of my bold predictions. It will probably start with the special awards for anime. That's what will probably be first. So there you go. Okay, this is Mega... Oh, I already said that. All right, that's all I got for you. I don't edit my videos, I'm sorry. You get the point. I've said everything I'm going to say. I've gone for an hour again. What did you expect? So yeah. That's all I got. See ya. Try to have the best Thanksgiving you can, and Christmas, and or whatever holiday you celebrate. Because once next year hits, and I'm not going to say anything else. Bye. Wahoo! I'm so sorry. Bye.